Welcome to another episode of Contractor's Corner. I am here today with Grant Gottlinger. He is the president of Gott Electric. They are based in Maryland and they do both residential and commercial work. So welcome to the show, Grant.
Thank you very much.
So you guys are serving not just Maryland, but the entire Mid-Atlantic region, right?
That's correct. Yes, we have an office in Frederick, Maryland, and also just north of Harrisonburg, Virginia, 15 miles.
Okay. So how did you get into solar? What was your journey?
So basically, in 2006, we started Gott Electric. Around 2008, the economy started to suffer, because of the lending practices, I guess, of some people. But basically, the company out of New Jersey called us and asked us if we would like to help them put a solar project on top of a Kohl's department store in Eldersburg, Maryland. Basically rode the solar coaster from there, did a bunch of schools for Montgomery County, and then we did a couple of schools for the Sunburst grant that was out at that time. It took a little while before we got to this point, obviously, but getting into solar when I did it was perfect timing because, I've been an electrician since I was 19 years old. And
so how much of your business would you say is solar now?
So I would say it's probably 70% of what we do. We specialize mainly in the C&I space. With regards to putting solar on schools, we're doing quite a few of those in Virginia. And then we've kind of migrated into doing some utility size projects in Pennsylvania and Maryland. It is mainly, I'd say, commercial solar is typically what we are actively doing right now. We have a residential service side of about 6 fans that run basically just anything you can think of that you would need in your home. But that was kind of what we had established prior to getting into solar. We just kept it running. That has grown substantially over the course of COVID. We've added 2 more vans to that side of things, so it's been nice. But commercial and utility solar projects is what we specialize in building and taking care of. So we are actually now probably taking care of over 50 megawatts of commercial solar in the Mid-Atlantic.
As far as the school projects that kind of gave you your start, how do you win a contract to install on a school? Like, what are the little tips and tricks?
I think that you have to take into to consideration a lot of like these entities have large safety concerns. Obviously, we're particularly careful when bidding these projects to understand what those requirements are. I think we were fortunate to get into the solar industry when we did because it allowed us to just obviously make some mistakes and kind of just rebound. But at this point, I mean, we've kind of changed how we go about it. We kind of say, hey, look, this is how we want to build these projects because we have the experience, and that way we kind of, I guess, added valued engineered aspect to the bid process. Getting into this industry is difficult. I would imagine that if you never built one of these, you really have no idea some of the unforeseen costs that are there. And honestly, you have to have a special type of electrician or technician. I tend to use the word outside electricians because the inside electrical work is controlled environment. It's more comfortable at times. But the guys that we have are seasoned and experienced, and it takes a lot of just understanding of the environment that you're in to kind of be successful at that.
I was going to ask, this leads into it. What are some challenges of installing solar in the region that you work in?
People don't realize that the commuting to different spots that are, like, let's say only 30 miles from, let's say, our office can take 2 to 2.5 hours at times to just navigate that, which is something that is extremely difficult to kind of to say put into a budget, right? But other than that, I mean, our biggest problem, and I'm sure I'm not the only person that would ever say this, but it is finding qualified individuals. That is 100% like what has held us back at times. But staying in our lane so that we don't get outside of that and get in trouble where we start to take on more than we can actually do. And we've been actively trying to fix that problem, but it's tough. That's a tough problem.
Are you looking into any sort of like training programs in-house to try and build this
Yeah.
up?
So we're members with the IEC, which is the Independent Electrical Contracting Association. Have been actually graduated from there. But basically they are actively training electricians. There's a lot of push, I guess, through committees that I've been a part of to get the counties involved at, say, the community college level to continue the to train the workforce that is needed for this future that is going to involve quite a bit of upgrades to the electrical grid. We actually require it as a company policy. Got Electric, basically, if you're going to work for us, you're going to go to school. You're going to become an electrician. Let's say you've come from a solar side of things with your experience. We push the NAPCEP training. Let's say we hire somebody that comes from somewhere else that doesn't necessarily have the education but is a skilled electrician. There are the same. Those are two things. It's kind of hard to say, hey, you've got 3 kids and a family, and I want you to go to school 2 nights a week. It doesn't really work out. Now we offer it. They can take it if they want, if they don't. But if you're coming out of high school or coming from like zero experience in the electrical field, we are definitely funneling you into that lane.
So, switching gears a little bit, what has been the most rewarding moment of your career in solar?
Yes, I've stared at that question right now, and it's there hasn't been one thing, I guess. I mean, I think that we've had a lot of firsts. I think in the state we have done projects for like the Smithsonian Institute. I mean, we've been the electrical contractor. We've kind of migrated out of being an electrical contractor only to being an EPC. Opening a second office in Harrisonburg, Virginia was kind of a big deal for us. Basically doubled in size. That was kind of a feather in the cap, I would say.
Absolutely. And getting into utility scale, I mean, that's a pretty big jump.
Yeah. So like up until that point, we had done a 10 meg site just north of Frederick. We've actually got a project in Virginia right now that we're doing that is strictly just battery for utility scale battery project, which is kind of neat. It's been a nice ride. I mean, it's been fun. At times it's been very difficult. But I really, without the renewable energy industry at the time, I don't know if we'd be even here at this point, to be honest.
How else does your company stand out from your competitors?
I think that we really have made an effort to stay with the quality. We've been, like I said, we get a ton of options to do a lot of different things, but we are very particular, I guess, on trying to stay, basically small enough where we can keep the quality higher. We're careful about that because I've seen many companies get too big too quickly and fail.
I'm curious about your O&M arm. How do the logistics work with that? Do you have a dedicated O&M team that goes out to projects?
Yes. So we don't do the monitoring part. Somebody will call us and say, hey, tree fell on the site, go fix it. And we'll take care of that. But yes, we do have basically a couple of qualified people right now that are been in solar for a long time that are running that division. I'd like to see it grow. It'd be nice to have that be up on its feet and running. So one of the things that we do with that division also are those guys is we make sure that they're trained to understand the dangers in which they're dealing with. There's unfortunately a lot of work being done by unqualified people. we see a lot of it actually. So, and we get actually asked to go and fix it after it's already been kind of put together uh, haphazardly. So it's a big part of what we want to do here in the Middle End. So
Yeah.
we're actively pursuing that type of work.
Okay, cool. What has been the most unique project you've worked on?
Unique projects. I, you know, we did a project, which was I guess it was like a microgrid for Pepco. Standard Solar did the design work, and basically the E and the P side of everything, and we did the construction side of it, which was a very small project, like 60 kW, I think, if I remember correctly, but it was basically designed to kind of be a model of what a microgrid would look like. It sits on a piece of property that Pepco basically, I think, kind of uses it as like a showpiece. That was kind of a fun project. The first ground mount we ever did was one for Solar City out basically in Chester, Maryland, like Queen Anne's County. That was the first ground mount we ever built. We were told that we were the first people to use a PVC weatherhead to basically bring the DC string wiring into a combiner box by the
You'll have to
manager.
explain to me what that is, as I'm not an electrician.
Yeah. So basically, like before, the combiner boxes were, where you would gather the solar panel leads to, the home runs to. Basically, they would bring them in to strain release underneath the combiner boxes, and it always bothered me because all the wires were very much like close to the ground, and so I suggested that we run, PVC up out the side of the combiner box to basically a PVC weatherhead, and then they allowed it, and it ended up being like how they pretty much do it everywhere now, which I thought was fun. We just finished 2 projects for DSD, which was basically carports for IKEA. We did a 1.3 meg carport in White Marsh, and then a megawatt carport at College Park, Maryland. With regards to the carports, you have quite a bit more to deal with. Those were two projects that were fun to be a part of, and I think we did a phenomenal job. Those type of projects are the ones we like a lot. I feel like when the projects are more difficult, we excel as a group.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's lots of problem solving on every different project because they are also different.
Yeah, that's the thing about solar. It's being, put on after the fact, right? Typically. So we're adding it to an existing structure almost always. Now I see that changing with regards to, laws that are being put in place where new buildings are going to be built with solar projects, which will help a whole lot to make them, I think, just less expensive, I guess would be the word I would use. But most projects we do are basically, hey, try to squeeze all of this into this little space, and it can be very complicated and very custom. I mean, it's all custom work at times, custom troughs, custom.
What, besides the workforce issues, is preventing you from installing more projects?
Well, currently we're dealing with a tariff that has kind of put a hold on some projects that we had seen coming. That is a major problem right now, I feel like, in our industry. And I'm not going to get into that too detailed. Like I just, it is what it is, but that is definitely a roadblock right now. I feel like we've seen projects that were coming to stop. There's companies that I know of that are inverter manufacturers that are very close to capacity, where like their product, they have been bought out for basically for the year. Or if you don't get in like within the next say month, you're not going to get inverters this year. Rapid shutdown requirement is another, especially for the C&I space is important and is the necessity. But that seems like those products are definitely can be hard to get. Basically right now, especially because of like all the other issues that are going on. But we've been told that transformers have like 28-week lead times on them, which that's a big problem if you can't get those. So yeah, I mean, right now, I think other than, like I said, skilled labor issue, I think procurement of long lead items is definitely on the list of difficulties right now.
Yeah.
It's slowing things down for sure.
Is there, I'm just wondering logistically, is there like one person at your company who is in charge of seeing your supply and contracting all the products you need?
Not one. We typically don't have one person actively doing that. If we have a couple different vendors that we deal with directly, they tend to call us and tell us, hey, look, you need to get in front of this before it's a problem type situation, which is nice.
Okay, got it. Have you had to kind of switch your preferred brands because of these backups and issues?
Uh, so yes, we have had to do that at times. We have a couple different vendors that we prefer to use, but yeah, we have had to change at times on the fly. Um, you know, just just because if we didn't, we wouldn't get the jobs done that year, or in the time frame allotted. So
Okay.
yeah.
What are some future product trends you're looking forward to?
I think you know I think that the battery side of it of this industry is going to become pretty much as big as the solar side, if not bigger. I think it's a necessity going forward. My concern there is obviously like that they put in place some sort of mechanism to make sure that homeowners are going to recycle them as they deteriorate. I've seen, being in the industry, in the construction industry for as long as I have, with fluorescent lamps and all kinds of like things that have come about and gone away. I just hope that they create a system with regards to like batteries for homes that are tracked in some manner, that they just don't all end up in dumpsters and landfills, because that's going to be awful for the environment. But I do think that technology is going to be a freight train once it gets its feet under it.